Welcome to Sunday, January 10th, Fireside Chat on the Philosophy for Philistines channel. I wrote the following this morning, given the recent attacks on freedom of discourse, freedom of speech, and freedom of thinking, because Tim Berners-Lee is so disgusted with what has happened to the internet that he invented. He feels that he has to invent another internet where our data can't be controlled, and he should be lauded for that. So I wrote the following this morning. Interesting, and since nature abhors a vacuum, not surprising. There have been many attempts in the long, dark history of mankind to stifle the right to speak freely, to develop our capacity to think and use reason, and ultimately all of them have failed. Which leads to only one truly pertinent question. What psychological pathology must possess those who try to do it? It must be the case that those who seek to control their fellow man by state fiat pose the greatest threat to civil society. Moreover, that they do so is the result of pathological ideas which are so distasteful they have to be forced on others. In this age of unreason, it's truly telling that the people that are being so unreasonable are the ones that claim to be hyper-rational. Hyper-rationality leads to a fundamental error, and one that's shared both with the hyper-rational atheist and also with the fundamental Christian. And I'll attempt to explain why. The scientific method is based on this principle, and it's how I live my life. I have a theory, and when I develop a theory, I go around trying to find reasons that I can disprove my theory. Science is never settled. The entire point of the scientific method is that it attempts to disprove its own theories. And if after rigorous investigation, trial, and experimentation, the theory cannot be disproven, it is assumed to be valid until more information is gathered, which is why all this nonsense around COVID and the science is settled is just that. It's nonsense because it is unscientific. So, how long has the scientific method existed? Basically only 500 years. Almost no one thinks scientifically, even scientists. Man, by nature, goes around trying to validate his perceptions of the world. He's not looking to be challenged and to invalidate them. And once theories are developed and cannot be disproven, all they do is provide a better explanation of how the natural world functions. They tell us nothing about how to live. Ethics aren't contained in science. So when the scientist says that ancient writings such as the scriptures have no value or validity or are untrue, they fail to recognize the horrendous reality contained in its metaphors. that they define mankind in a way that science cannot, because they provide clues as to how we should conduct our affairs in this world. And by the same token, the fundamentalist believes that the Bible must be able to be proven scientifically, forgetting, of course, that the people who wrote the scriptures were not scientists, and that no one in their day and age thought scientifically. Jesus said that he would speak in metaphors so that his followers would understand him. And because the Bible is the written word, the Logos, the metaphors that are contained in the scriptures are truer than anything. Of course, that depends on your definition of what you believe to be true. And the truth is revealed by the fact that when it's applied, it results in living a functional life, a meaningful life. The hyper-rational socialist believes that all of life's struggles are purely material because they live in a purely material realm. And the great truth of the scriptures, of course, is that life is not at all material. Mankind does not find meaning in materialism, and the man who submits to living a materialistic existence will have very little meaning in his life. Carl Jung was on to something when he realized that there were dream states that mankind was in, and that the dream was attempting to manifest a very profound reality, and that those dreams are contained in the scriptures, and they manifest the truth. And the only way that we can develop ideas around the principles that allow mankind to live a productive and meaningful life is by being able to speak about them, to develop our thoughts about them, and to share our thoughts with one another. To live in a society where those thoughts are controlled and where we have multinational conglomerate giants deep in bed with the state to enforce correct thinking is Orwellian and terrifying. I had someone ask me today, well, what limit should there be on speech? The very question itself is a stunning repudiation of understanding of the law. We already have laws defining what you're allowed to say. It is fine for the government to say that I cannot incite others to violence, or to commit a crime or a murder, or to slander. Those are already written in the law. If we cannot apply the laws that we already have, why are we trying to invent new ones to further restrict mankind's ability to get out of the Jungian dream state and to make sense of what the dream contained? The Bible is a tool to help mankind formulate a meaningful life. And free speech is the agency by which that tool operates. All great social progress has happened because of freedom of discourse and freedom of faith and freedom of assembly. And all of these things are under attack today. These are the things that are an inherent threat to civil society. But moreover, the scriptures also tell us that it's your job and mine to rectify it. Quit looking for a savior. Trump is no longer, well, after January 20th, my cousins in America's president. Biden is president-elect. The military is not going to foment a coup. And all of the issues that we face in society today, at home and abroad, are because people are foregoing their right to make sense of their life in the light of the greater truths that we were given in these great documents, such as the scriptures. In the Norse sagas, there's a story about a man who knew everything between the two mountains where he lived. And the Vikings, as they traveled abroad, realized that their limited understanding of things was insufficient to define the world around them. And that only the man that believed he knew everything lived only between two mountains and couldn't conceive of the world outside of those two mountains. You got to get rid of the idea that you know everything, and you have to start living like you know nothing. You have to try to start disproving your theories and examining them to see if they are indeed accurate. I know I do. I'm hoping that I'm wrong almost every moment of every day. But so far, I cannot disprove my theories, which lends some validity to them. But my theories are my own theories. You must develop your own as well. This is the place where we're supposed to learn to think. I encourage all of you to get involved in this discussion. I'll post some links to the article about the guy who built the World Wide Web. And please leave remarks. Get involved in the debate. There is nothing wrong with open discussion and with disagreeing with one another. It's how the West was built. You have a great Sunday.